inside Thundershroomz. We missed each other last week. I had lost my voice. I was at a wedding overseas, and not only at a wedding, but it was a special time for me because it was a wedding of a very dear friend, a school friend who I've known since grade 6 or 7, and was also my 20-year high school reunion. So it was all in one, as well as my birthday yesterday. So all these things came same week, same day. Lost my voice. So as much as I had to think about, I had no real way of speaking about it. But um, it was a good time to reflect, and it was really made me think a lot about where I've come in my life, as far as what I might have accomplished or achieved, and really what I still have to do left. But also, I was thinking about my own state of health, and I was thinking to myself, where would I be at? Somewhere in the halfway point of my life. Would my cells reflect that same age? And so it got me thinking about my internal health span and what I can do to really prioritize my health in this, shall we say, second half or later later phases of life when, although I feel the same as I did 10 years ago, the cells inside me don't. And they don't work in the same way as they did 10 or even 5 or even 3 years ago. I'm sure many of you would agree that above a certain age, things like foods stick a lot easier. Um, I personally find that the same number of even calories or the same amount of food doesn't really disappear so quickly as it did a few years ago, even with the same effort or even with the same measurements. And really, this is a sign of the body being less able to undertake the same stresses that it was able to 10 years ago, in a decade earlier in your health, in our cellular health. So, okay, how can we feel about this? Of course, it's a little upsetting. It's also a great opportunity for us to realize that the things we feel are more difficult now, we can feel them. And the things that are inside we cannot feel are also as difficult. They're also increasingly difficult for the cells that perform them. So if we feel a certain food at this age, 10 years later, it gives us trouble, but it didn't give us trouble 10 years earlier, your cells are going through something very similar. Things that maybe were not problematic to you as far as a toxic fume, or even recently I was at the wedding, secondhand smoke. I used to smoke cigarettes. I smoked regularly, but I also had a long time after a short time of smoking regularly. I had a long time of whole social smoking, and I was surprised to find that after many years of giving up 100% all smoke, I was almost sick. And that's really where I think I lost my voice, was really after that night at a very smoky bar full of people, and the secondhand smoke really got to me. So things that I used to tolerate or even pursue before are now causing problems. So whilst it might be a little disheartening, it is a great revelation. It's a great signal from ourselves to say, hey, the same things that you used to do, maybe they were problematic before, but you didn't show the damage or the wear and tear from them. But now you do. So now you can see the truth about the thing that maybe your youth would hide from you. Youth has a great way of putting things that are quite challenging to our health. It has a way of masking them. It has a way of making our body ignore them as we move forward with our life. And that's really what our brain is very good at. Our brain is very good at minimizing pain and putting it off to the side so we can be productive with the rest of our objectives and the rest of our pursuits. But when we actually have time to hear and listen to our body and hear what our bodies say and say, hang on, this same piece of pizza, with the same amount of pizza, it's causing me a lot of problems in my stomach after I eat. I can eat a whole pizza. Now, after 1 or 2 slices, I start to get gunked up, and I don't feel like I still want to eat more, but I know that the pain and the discomfort that's going to come as a result makes me think twice. And not because I think about only the pain and the discomfort, but I think about what does the pain and the discomfort represent? What is the signal that pain, the discomfort, or the bloating, the gas that I get after eating the whole pizza, what is the pain telling me? Pain is telling me, mate, you're stressing me out. All my flora and fauna in my gut microbiome are stressed out. They're stressed out to the point where they're bloated, where they're pressed against each other. They're squished up, like people squished inside a glass phone box, and it's an unpleasant experience. So when I stop and I listen to that, that's very valuable input. Maybe that's going to save me a much more costly, a much more damaging health situation in the future, because I listened to the early warning of a mild discomfort now. And the action, whilst I definitely can make improvements with my supplementation, the first thing I need to do is to lower the toxic input, remove that extra pizza, listen to the message and hear what my body says after I have it, and reduce the input. And it's always much more beneficial. It's always so much more bang for your buck. Your mileage goes so much further when you add in supplementation like the Thundershroomz after we've already made significant changes to input of the bad stuff that causes us to get the wear and tear and the damage and the excessive aging to begin with. So we've talked in this show many times about the free radicals that are around us outside our body and the free radicals that are also generated inside our body as almost a type of a residue, as a type of leftover. In the same way that when we burn wood in a wood furnace, what's left over is the ash. In the same way, when we, for example, burn calories in our body, or when we convert glucose into ATP for our cells to use as energy, the cells in the metabolic process, they leave residue. They leave metabolic residue in the same way that a wood burning stove leaves ash behind. And all of this residue can be understood as free radicals. It can be understood as toxic waste that is just a natural part of the cells inside our body and their daily function. So this toxic waste needs to be brought out. Even if we reduce the toxic input by lowering our toxic food or environmental inputs, we still have all the toxic waste that our body is just creating on a daily basis, in the same way that there's going to be ash left over in a wood burning furnace. So we have to help our body to facilitate the exit of these toxins, to facilitate the gathering and the binding of these internal free radicals and waste products, and get them out of our body. And in this way, we can lower the burden that is going to start to break down our internal systems and show up in symptoms such as bloating, gas, and one of the most common things we see is, of course, skin problems. And skin problems are they're misunderstood, but they're also they're invaluable, because a skin problem, whilst most people think that it's just an issue of the skin, really skin is reflective of your internal health. So when we see a skin problem, it's an opportunity to investigate for someone their real underlying health issue. Is their skin issue just surface deep, or in fact does it reflect a poor state of organ health, such as overburdened kidney and liver, or an imbalanced GI tract and gut microbiome that might be very imbalanced? So skin issues, bloating, and gas, these are all ways of our body telling us that, hey, something is going wrong inside. Sorry, they're not going wrong, but something is damaging inside. So to bring it back to what I first started the episode with, was my own reflections as it was my birthday, seeing people after 20 years again. And I've thought of myself, how are my cells doing after 20 years of have I been putting my cells through? What have I been asking it to do? I thought about my hard eating days, my hard drinking days, my hard partying days, my late sleeping days, which I still have. And I thought to myself, there's a lot more kindness I can be showing to my body. There's a lot more generosity I can be giving to my cells as far as the nutrients I provide them, and what type of toxic burden I impose on them. And so it was a good reflection. It's a bittersweet reflection, and it's an opportunity for me to do more. So I would say it's an appreciation that I've done a pretty good job, I guess, but a very clear understanding that there's a lot more to do. And as I near the end of this decade, and getting ever closer to the big 40s, I really think it's, from my personal timeline, is it's really an important time to prioritize what I do. And so I want to share my own personal plan of action, which is to, the main thing I looked at what am I doing and what am I intaking and what am I really missing? And I have to step up the amino acid consumption. And the reason for that is because I currently take a very regular dose of Thundershroomz and have been for 7, 8 years now. And overall, my immune cell markers are very good. My sickness regularity is very low. In fact, in very times of very high stress, when I would expect to become sick with a seasonal cold and flu, I've managed to keep it at bay. However, there's been a number of more recent lifestyle challenges I've faced, mainly in the GI tract and the GI digestion field. So with all these processes, I've looked at what I've input and identified some of the key aggressors that might be causing me to have a pro-inflammatory GI response and a bit of gas and a bit of bloating, and remove these things from my diet. Of course, nothing can ever be done 100%, but more and more every day as the foreseeable future. And so these things that I know are basically processed sugar for me, and bread in the form of refined bread, that really causes me a lot of gas and issues. So there are other things that I find are much easier on my system, so I'll be moving towards those. And supplementation wise, I realize I look at what I'm missing, and really amino acids are the thing I'm missing to help my body's detox system, because amino acids are the thing that binds the toxins to fat in our liver to pass it out of our colon. As that's how we get rid of the fat soluble toxins, is through conjugation in the liver, and then we exit them through our GI tract, right? So amino acids are a very key part of that. And whilst I get most of them through food and through eating a very balanced plate and what we call a perfect plate or a rainbow plate, I can still supplement more. So there I have the sun formula, and that will really take care of most of my amino acid needs, plus the multivitamin as well. So these are some very basic adjustments that I find will be my objectives going forward. And I really encourage you, whether it's your birthday or not, to use any big milestone, or really every day that you have a waking thought and you ask yourself about your health, but not only your health span. I was thinking, at this age, is my health span, my quality of health, my quality of life, what I expect it to be, and commensurate with the amount of effort and the resources that I put into achieving my health goals. So I really was thinking mainly, where is my health span in relation to where I want it to be, and what can I do in order to meet those goals? So that's what I wanted to share in this episode. It's just my birthday, and a really important time for me to think about my healing goals and health goals. And in the life of a Thundershroom, I am just now reaching what would be considered medical maturity. And as a reminder, all Thundershroomz that we have inside Vital Life in Critical Care, they're all at least 30 to 40 years old. And this is where the fruiting body of the mushroom, of the Thundershroom, which is what we use, 100% fruiting body, which is the part of the mushroom that comes out of the tree, not the roots inside the tree. So the fruiting bodies of every Thundershroom that goes inside Vital Life in Critical Care are at least 30 to 40 years old, because this is the age where they're medically mature. So I guess I am in the age of being medically mature for a Thundershroom. But of course, they can live to be thousands of years old. So a lot more for me to learn from them. And I wanted to also address a few questions which I've had to the Facebook page. I apologize for not addressing them a bit sooner. And I wanted to answer one, which was we have, do they work for severe skin conditions? So Christina Valukas, I think I answered that just now, about how skin conditions really are a reflection of the internal health. And one particular area where Thundershroomz really have a strong benefit is anything to do with an autoimmune linked skin condition such as eczema or psoriasis, where the skin shows damage and blemish because the two parts of the immune system are out of balance. Two parts of the immune system being the T1 pro-inflammatory immune system, and the second part is the T2 anti-inflammatory immune system. And when they are in imbalance, the T1, the pro-inflammatory, dominates the T2, the anti-inflammatory. And that dominance of the pro-inflammatory over the anti-inflammatory, that dominance of the T1 immune over the T2 immune system shows up in the form of skin problems such as eczema, psoriasis, and we even see things like rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory linked diseases coming from this imbalance between the T1 and the T2 immune system. So that's where Thundershroomz is so helpful. So when we talk about severe skin conditions, yes, they help, but especially when they are linked with over-dominant immune system from the T1 immune system. So I hope that helps. And in particular, the critical care will bring the balance back into harmony faster than the vital life. So they both will help and they both will achieve this goal. The critical care will do it faster. Now, I also wonder, there was a question about fasting and if it would help with women problems and pelvic problems. And absolutely, one of the biggest causes of pelvic and women issues is dietary issues, but dietary issues a long time ago that have led to, let's say, building up a buildup of issues on top of old dietary issues. So something like a fast will be very good to break down, help your body break down old stored toxins, and that will allow the detox of inflammation and swelling and old stored toxins in the form of tissue to release from the body, and that will bring down a lot of the menopausal and the postmenopausal issues from swelling to other discomforts. So a fast would be a very good way to take, let's say, I don't like the word kickstart so much, but really strong action, time-based action. And you definitely want to follow the Perfect Day guide as far as what nutrients and supplements you want to support yourself with during the fast. And the last one I wanted to answer was born with Candida and tried to correct it her entire life. And is it true that mushrooms feed Candida? It is now, because there are over 5 million types of fungi in the world, it's impossible to say all mushrooms do or do not feed Candida. Candida is from the fungi world as well. So they will interact with different mushrooms in different ways. But the key thing to know is that all mushrooms have an immunological response in the human immune system, which is that any type of mushroom, even a button mushroom you eat in an omelet, will have a small immune response from your immune system. And the key thing to know is that something like Candida, when we have the Thundershroomz, the immune response to Thundershroomz is like a personal trainer that teaches your immune system how to properly deal with Candida and how to properly deal with the different fungi-linked inputs. So although they are linked, the Thundershroomz is actually teaching your immune system how to properly handle and process the different fungi. So in that way, it will help your immune system not further feed the Candida. So I hope that answers your question. And as always, if anyone has any specific questions, you're welcome to email me at thundershrooms.docofdetox@gmail.com or leave a question on the Facebook and YouTube page, and I will answer it in a future episode. So until next week, I wish you all the best of health and safe. I wish you all safe, happy times, and look forward to seeing you again on the next episode. Until then, bye for now.